If you're an entrepreneur and your business is not yet registered, if you're looking to grow your registered business, or you're an accomplished professional. Our Elevate program supports you with access to finance, access to markets, access to capacity building. Sign up now or refer a friend at ecobank.com/elevate. Elevate by EcoBank. A better way, a better Africa.
Yëf lay fay. Sant yàlla. looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay nag doo ci yokku dara.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
You're with Coffee Time with Peter Gomez this Tuesday, the 28th of July, 2026, and our guest is the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Alhaji Seedy K.M. Keita. We are now coming to what possibly most of you have been waiting to talk about. That's the debt issue. Why does the Gambia owe so much? And it depends on, who you read. And what proactive measures are being taken to address the debt burden?
Yes, I think the debt has been really blown out of proportion.
That's why I said it depends on who you read.
Yeah, because, you see, when you want to develop and you have limited resources, you have not been able to generate your own resources, how will you be able to do it? You have to borrow. You see, in America, that's why they call debt a leverage. It's a double-edged sword. If you borrow, you speculate on it or you gamble on it, it makes you worse off because you will not have the ability to pay it in future. However, if you borrow and you invest it productively, it can only catapult your achievement and your progress. That's why, in fact, I'll give you one example. In the stock market,
yes,
that's what they call margin trading.
Okay.
That is, you are trading not from your own money, but from borrowed money.
Okay.
And it's a double-edged sword. If your trades are in the blue, in the black, that's making money, it will only accentuate your profit. But if you lose, it wipes you out. And that's what we will tell you, you have a margin call. Your broker will tell you, oh no, you borrowed me, now your position is not able to sustain that, pay me back. And you will either be able to force to liquidate your cash holdings, or they will close your margin account. That's just to demonstrate the effect of borrowing. And with that said, the debt we have is a good debt. Gambia's debt portfolio is very sound because what is coming out is not only the quantum of the debt, but the capability of government to service those debts. We've never defaulted on our debt. And that's the singular most important indicator. And our capacity to service those debts is increasing by leaps and bounds. We're telling you how our domestic resource mobilization has grown by leaps and bounds. So instead of waiting when your own resources cannot foster development, it is prudent you borrow and you invest, provided that, in fact, I don't want to sound technical, but your cost of borrowing is, let's say, X.
Yes.
Your return on investment is Y. Unless your return on investment is greater than your cost of borrowing, you shouldn't borrow.
Because then you've demonstrated an ability to pay off your
exactly. So that is one matrix. And in public finance,
you borrow $1 to make $1.50.
Yes, or minimum. Okay. No, $1.50, provided your cost of that borrowing is not more than half.
Okay.
You get my point?
Yeah.
So in public financial management, your return is not only in financial. Public investment returns are not only measured in, okay, I borrowed 10, and this investment can give me X. That's why you look at total return. They call it a total return. That means social return plus your financial return. That's your total return of a public investment. This is how a public investment is evaluated. So, and one area that people criticize the government is investing in infrastructure. And I'll come to give you the granular breakdown of the debt and where they have gone to. But one very important, people can verify this, for every dollar invested in infrastructure, your total return, financial and economic, is $4.
Oh.
Yes. People can verify this.
1:4.
1:4 is the ratio. That's why, even if you look at the developed countries, the first area they invest is infrastructure. Tell me one developed country you will travel to where there are no roads to get to where you want to. The cost of no infrastructure is phenomenal. I'm sure my Nyominka guys will be able to know what it means to have a road. With now the Hakalan Red. You ask them the value of a road.
Is it because Kian got roads before Nyoming?
No, I'm just because, I'm from Jara. But that's to tell you. So I am not preaching, I'm not lecturing, but these are facts. Every dollar of investment in infrastructure gives $4 of total return from a public investment perspective. So these are where these borrowings have gone. They have not gone into speculative areas where you cannot trace the money and you say, oh, this project is dubiously implemented. They say they're going to build a house.
They say a lot of that.
No, I'm not aware. I'm not saying it's not there, but I'm not aware. Where we say we'll build a road and we never build a road. I've not seen that.
Oh, okay. No, no. Well, they question the quality of the road.
Well, how? Peter, there is what they call core competence. I am a layman. Who am I to comment on on a medical issue? So the people talking about the quality of roads, ask them their engineering background. Who are you to... You see, that's what they call operate within your circle of competence. If an engineer comes and tell us as government, oh, this road is suspect, it has quality defects, we will take that very seriously. But like you and me, who don't even know an engineering design to say the road, I had one person who said, oh, I drove in the road, but the road is shaky. And so as such, the quality is a suspect. How can you say that? It's just like giving a mechanic to operate a patient. He'll die because he has no competence. So those are hogwash. Those are not things we should even give them credit. I think if you want to criticize, what I would have expected, you should invest in your criticism. You should hire a trained engineer. You pay him well. He should do his engineering work, either poke holes, check the centimeters of bitumen, whatever, and give you a report to say, this road they say is good, but this my report is saying it's not good. On that basis, they can go out now and say, oh, no, I've got engineer's report saying the road is this, and these are the defects. But you and I, driving in our car, and the car shake, and then you say, as a result, the road is a suspect. Peter, where are we? For heaven, you see, that is our problem. Everybody is becoming an expert. Then how come? I'm a layman. I'm lay in road construction. I have no competence. Even if you ask me, I say, don't ask me because I have no ability to say so. In my area, you ask me, I'll tell you. And I have authority to tell you because I've been trained in that. So for people to say that we don't know the road is a suspect, tell me one road that was built and destroyed within a short period of time. And by the way, a number of roads are funded from our domestic resources, but a large number is funded by partners. And these partners will make sure quality consultants are hired, and even post-implementation of those roads, there'll be what they call monitoring and evaluation report will be prepared about 2-3 years. That's what they do. I think the audience should know that if IDB finance or World Bank finance or ADB finance a project, after the project, there's an independent institution, department in this institution. They call it Office of Post-Evaluation. That is independent of management. It reports directly to the board or to the managing director, not to any line department. That will come and conduct an assessment of that transaction. And they will say, oh, you said as ADB, you wanted to realize development outcomes A, B, C, D. 2 years after the project is completed, an independent team has gone to the field, assessed, and they found that none of them were achieved, or this has been. And these independent evaluation reports are posted on their websites. So for you to comment, you must comment on a basis that has substance. You see, any road that is built by a partner, just wait after 2-3 years, you will see they can be written to ask, what about this? Because these partners are not just operating in a vacuum. So basically, this is what I'm trying to explain, how these infrastructure projects are implemented. Okay. And anybody who has, if you want to criticize the road, for heaven's sake, invest in your criticism.
Get an engineer.
Give you
an expert opinion.
And you will say, this is my expert opinion. Okay. But for you to drive, maybe your car doesn't have the right balance, or the center of gravity has moved, and it's shaking. I was in that car, the car was shaky, so therefore the road is a suspect. Right. How?
Let's leave the road for now and get the expert opinion of Keita on how much the country owes and what the breakdown is.
Certainly, yes. I will do so, because we owe it to the Gambians for them to know what we're doing. As of December 2025, the total debt stock was 140 billion.
140 billion?
Yes. And this comprised 64% international borrowings, that is the partners, that is the IDB, the World Bank, and the IMF and others, and 36% domestic borrowing. So I think I want this idea.
Take your time.
Yes, I want this idea to flow granularly, so
ahead.
that people understand. Yeah. You see, we said at the beginning of 2017, when this new dispensation came into being, the total debt stock was 46 billion. That was what was recorded. But that was not the true amount.
Oh.
Yes. You see, at the time, because of the governance lapses and the environment, there were a number of debts hovering in the system. The Social Security, the GNPC, the ITFC default, that were in the system but not recorded. These were all combined together, and they called it a 30-year bond. This 30-year bond cumulated together, and that came to about 10.8 billion. And a bond was issued to pay off the creditors, and government assumed those loans. So that stock is new debt that this government has not received any money for. But because government is a continuity, government has taken those loans over. Equally, there's another amount due to BASI and the commercial banks that came to, I'm sorry to call names here, but this is a defaulting obligation of NAWEC, and that came to 1.7 billion. So combine the 10.8 and the 1.7 is 12.5 billion. So this 12.5 billion comprises debt that this government assumes, for which no new money was received and no new services was received. But in the spirit of transparency, it absorbed the debt as government is a continuity. So the true debt opening balance should have been 12.5 plus 46 billion. That makes it 58.5 billion. I hope I'm clear.
Yes.
Because what we are saying, these were debts existing at the time. These are not new borrowings. But they were hovering in the system because of the governance. Nobody can say anything, and they were left idle. But when this government, in order to sanitize the banking system, improve governance and credibility in the financial system, it assumes those debts.
Sure.
So technically, it means those financial institutions were paid by the taxpayer without the taxpayer receiving any new proceeds. The proceeds were allegedly by NAWEG, and you all know the circumstances. So that came to 58.5 billion. So that was it. Then you have, out of that leaves you with 81.5 billion. 140 minus 58.5 is 81.5 billion. Out of that 81.5 billion, the state-owned enterprises, these are part of government, because government debt is defined as all government debt and publicly guaranteed debt. So even though if government take a debt and on lend, that's why I explained to you the JAT transaction, how we don't want a default. Because once it's guaranteed and a default triggers, it comes back to you.
Okay.
So the debt obligation is defined as all publicly issued debt and publicly guaranteed debt. So the state-owned enterprise owe a combined debt portfolio of 28 billion.
Oh, wow.
28 billion. So 81.5 minus 28 billion is 53.5 billion. So the 53.5 billion is the net borrowing of this government. And I'll explain to you where that 53.5 billion goes to. You see, what we'll say, we start with the University of the Gambia, the UTG campus at Farababanda.
Yes.
Total debt on this transaction is $97.5 million. All right? Then the Batin Harding. Everybody's enjoying Batin Harding. And when people are talking about debt, they forget the asset these debts have gone to create. And one thing with infrastructure investment, you know, some of this, unless it's a depreciating asset, like, you know, vehicles, but infrastructure assets like building, roads, tend to appreciate over time. Because to redo a road, you know, which is well built, is very cheap. But then, so replacement costs tend to be higher. All right? But in Harding is $148,268,042.
The loans we took
The
to construct.
loan we took to construct Batin Harding.
Oh, wow.
You see? Then you have the rice value chain. That is the rice value chain for the agricultural sector, $27 million. Then you have another transaction here. That is the OIC, the 50-kilometer roads. The OIC, that's about $60 million. Then you have the electricity renewable access. The electricity, that is $74 million. So combined, then you have the Gambia renewable energy, that's electricity. Then you have the small ruminant, that's 28 million. You have another project here, improvement to secondary schools for youths in the Gambia, funded by Keita Fund, 16 million. You have the cattle production, 29 million. Enhanced value addition, 3 million. And of course, inclusive growth, $2 million. Total debts contracted into these 30 projects. This is a list of 30 projects from 1 to 30, I've mentioned. Total of that is $511 million. $533,662. That translated into dollars is about 37 billion. So that leaves you with 16.4 million. As you know, I explained to you that the debt, 64% is foreign currency. From 2017 to date, we all know the exchange rate has depreciated. And we compute the foreign currency depreciation element of that. That came to 7.5 billion. So as a result, the net borrowing, that is the 8.9 billion, is the deficit financing. Like every year you tend to spend, every budget tend to have more expenditure than the revenue. So most of the debts, the budgets have incurred deficit. So this is how the debt evolved. So there is no magic to it. No money has disappeared in thin air. Unless Gambians tell me these projects are not important and we should not have done them. So it's a choice. They know now where their monies have gone to. So when people talk about, oh, you see, when they come, they borrowed, combined Jamia and Jawara more, this is where the money has gone to. And these are public resources, public records. So there is no borrowing which was speculative. All this is where the numbers have gone to. So for people to make it look like, and with these reforms, our capacity to service this debt have increased. You think these international organizations, with all the skills, experts that they have, and they are in country. IMF has a resident office here. ADB has a resident office here. World Bank has a resident office here. If they believe once they give us loans, we will not be able to pay, you think they will be able to get borrowed?
So why this talk about,
Because
imminent debt distress?
No. If in fact, right now, with all these reforms, I'm telling you, that is coming down, because our capacity to service debt has been classified now as strong. So it's not the absolute number that you look at. Even as a human being, your bank will give you more credit if you have more resources to be able to pay. Yeah. You see, the country is not different from a human being. If you go to the bank, you think the bank will give you money? No. If you don't have the capacity to pay, no way. But the fact that...
So in other words, the debt has not affected our credit rating in any way?
No, it's not adverse. No, actually, we are not rated as a country. We do not have a credit rating. But even if we are rated, our rating would have been higher because our capacity...
Let's go for a rating. What does it take to get a rating?
No, there are prerequisites. Rating is a game you don't enter into until you are ready. I can tell you for sure. I have taken ICD rating by 3 rating agencies, Fitch, Moody's, and Standard & Poor. So, you see, I pity some countries that just go to rating when their rating is below an investment grade. What value does it add? And we are not borrowing in the international market. We are only borrowing on concessionary terms. You don't get rated as a window dressing. You get rating for a results. Rating for you to be able to access funds from the capital market. And capital market borrowings are at market rate. Today, our borrowings are below market rate. I just told you how our borrowing is 35% concessionary. And out of this 64%, a large amount is concessionary. And they are owed to Islamic Development Bank, the ADB, the World Bank, and the IMF. So this is the situation. And why people speak to debt, because this is one area they think they can hammer government at. And I think they don't have a problem. It is our problem. Because if they don't understand, that's not their problem. It is our problem as public policy makers to come and explain to them where their claims on these debts have gone to. If you want to tell me the Faraba Bantan campus is not relevant, the OIC road is not relevant, the Batin Hardin highway is not relevant, or the OIC road, the OIC interconnection, the one that goes around in the areas. And what is the benefit to the citizen? Each of these projects I have mentioned are here. They have benefit the lives and livelihood of every Gambian. Today, look at this stretch of Batin Hardin. Look at the type of buildings. You've never seen this building before these roads were built.
Well, at least you cited the diplomat.
Yes, I'm telling you. Not only me. People have seen it. Not only the diplomat is just one. Look at others. I think they have this another global tower. There's another one. Yes. Everybody is building. In fact, right now, if you look at it, the real estate on this stretch have appreciated manifold. Those benefits did not come to government. The best test for this Batin Hardin highway are the real estate along the corridor. Go and ask their owners how their values have appreciated compared to when the road was not there. And how the traffic time, my commute to office before the completion of the wires, it was about an hour. Today I do it in 20 minutes. 20 minutes, I'm in my office from my house. That's my own experience. I cannot speak for others. But I'm sure every commuter using the OIC road has witnessed a significant reduction in travel time. So this is how the debt has evolved. And if you don't know, ask. There are no stupid questions. There are only the stupid answers. So now I think we've put it ably out.
Yes.
So
just finally,
yes.
What key message would you want Gambians to take away about debt management?
No, the debt management is responsibility. Okay. You have to be fiscally prudent. You have to be fiscally responsible. You make sure that whatever you borrow is going into productive areas that is adding value, that is building your economic resilience, building your economic foundations. You don't just borrow to speculate. You don't borrow for consumption alone. You know, that one is mainly occasional, you know, to close your budget deficits here and there. But there is no international borrowing to close our financing as operations of government. Yes. So these are some of the things. And I think there is one area of reform we are yet to get there. That is the development of a national balance sheet.
Oh.
Yes, that's on the cards.
Why is this important? What does national balance sheet?
A national balance sheet will show you for every loan, you know, a balance sheet is a statement of the assets and liabilities of an entity. When we get there, the Gambians will see these are the assets and how these assets are
so
financed.
You're developing this national balance sheet for
the country. For the country.
Okay.
Just like we prepare the national accounts of public and expenditure.
But you already prepare one to work with at ministerial level, not so?
No, that's still a work in progress. Yeah, we are doing a national, what they call asset policy, to get an inventory of the assets. Today, this Batin hiding, I told you, is 143 million. It's in the debt stock. Where in the government records is the value of the asset receipt? It's not there. These schools, even this MIC Holland, all those buildings, the value is not reflected anywhere.
Oh, okay. So this is what the national balance sheet will
that
be.
will be in one place.
So then
at
we
a
can go and say,
snapshot.
They wasted 143 million on IOC.
No, in fact, today
on the IOC road, but then you will
see
the benefit is that.
No. In fact, I have given you where these loans have gone to. Technically, I have given you a bifurcation, an explanation or breakdown of what these borrowings have gone to finance.
Okay.
Today, everybody knows the debt stock, but how many people know the value of the OIC road? How many people know the electricity interconnection? How many people know the value of the Bantan campus? Nobody. And nobody talks about it. So that's why when we have a national balance sheet, it will show like for example, our investment in the SOEs over the years. They just have them now compiled together. But they should be in one snapshot. You have, these are the assets, my bank balance, my assets, my vehicles, my roads, my buildings, everything. Then they have financed by my loans, my equity, and my retained earnings or profit or loss. This will put to test and to put to bed. Because you think IMF, World Bank, IDB, Islamic Development Bank, Badia, European Investment Bank will continue to give us money if they know that we have no capacity to service. Because the first point of credit is credit assessment. Capital, capacity to pay, these are key pillars of any credit decisions. So now, in fact, right now, as we speak, we are rejecting some loans as a government.
You are?
Yes. I can say it publicly.
Institutions want to give you loans?
Yeah, we say no. Because we say their terms are not concessionary. And in fact, these are just some of them. You see the municipality buildings?
Yes.
The Karimfi municipality, their headquarters, was built by a loan from government. The Banjul City Council headquarter building is built by a loan from government OPEC fund. Oh. Yeah, I can say it. But how many Gambians know that building was financed by a loan from government? And part of the constituents attacking government for loan is that building. Owners, occupants. I'm just explaining. These are loans from government. But how many people know that? But it's not their problem. It is our problem if we don't tell them. Now, we have put it very succinctly and clearly how these loans have evolved over time since 2017. Right. I think, I'm not saying it will put to rest, but we have the numbers. Anybody who wants to challenge can come. We'll show you. In fact, increasingly more and more, we are very transparent. And I think this is healthy for government to be taken to task, of course, in the name of allegation, or you don't know what you are doing, you are only borrowing, you have borrowed twice what Jawara and Yaya Jammeh combined have borrowed. But we have generated threefold what assets were there before Yaya Jammeh and Jawara. Look at the number of roads. Before 2017, only 800 kilometers were paved. Today, as we speak, we have more than 1,200 kilometers of roads paved. Today, Gambians have 90% access to electricity. So, what was the access to electricity in the past? How do we expect this to come from thin air? It cannot be. But the good thing is the capacity to sustain and pay those debts are going on.
And you see, ours is good debt.
Of course.
Okay, all right.
All right?
Oh, that is 2.5 hours. Sorry, 2 hours of the minister speaking.
No, I just want, I think, as a Minister of Finance, you are like a CFO of a publicly listed company. You should let your citizens know how their finances are being managed, and if they have any question, they can ask. It is any question, and then we are here.
I'm ready when you are ready.
I'm ready too. But I hope I've laid the foundation, and it's a work in progress. Yeah. One session might not cover it all, but we'll periodically be coming to address the citizens.
So we're now going to the questions received before the program and during the program. Let's start with this from Gambian students abroad. Good morning, Uncle Peter and Honorable Minister of Finance, Mr. Seedy Keita. We hope you are both doing well. Last week, the Honorable Minister of Higher Education came to your platform and made several important clarifications regarding our delayed stipends. He informed us that the government had approved $50 million and assured us that they are currently working on the matter. He also promised to work closely with the Ministry of Finance to ensure that student stipends are treated like salaries so that these delays do not continue in future. However, despite these assurances, we are still waiting for our stipends. Whenever we follow up with Mohurst, we are always told that they are waiting for the Ministry of Finance to release the funds. As students, we believe this is a matter that should be handled between Mohurst and the Ministry of Finance. Our responsibility is with Mohurst because that is the institution we signed our scholarship contracts with, not the Ministry of Finance. Uncle Peter, we kindly ask you to convey our concerns to the Honorable Minister of Finance. Honorable Minister, we respectfully appeal to you to kindly help release the funds to Mohurst so that our stipends can be paid without further delay. We, the students studying abroad, are suffering because of these continuous stipend delays. Many of us are struggling to afford food, accommodation, transportation, and other basic necessities. We've been forced to borrow money from friends, colleagues, and lecturers just to survive. We sincerely hope to receive our stipends before the end of this week, as the situation has become extremely difficult for all of us. Thank you both for your time, understanding, and continued support. We remain hopeful that through your intervention and cooperation, this matter will be resolved as soon as possible. I'm sure you are aware of.
Yes, certainly we sympathize with the students, and it's unfortunate we have gotten to this situation. But as I have mentioned, government resources are allocated based on principles.
Yes.
There's a budget for every sector. And just to let the students know that this has received the highest attention of government.
Meaning the President is aware?
Yeah, I'm being transparent here. Last week on Thursday at Cabinet, the President called my attention to say, well, look into this matter and take whatever it needs to get it resolved, and work is afoot, just to assure that the highest executive is aware and instructions have been given. But as you know, public finances have rules and procedures. What happened in this particular instance was there were areas built up over time, and the Ministry of Higher Education has asked for resources, and we gave them an allocation of 50 million. But every ministry has a budget allocation, which is appropriated and voted by the National Assembly. Unfortunately, the budget line for this expenditure at the Ministry of Higher Education was exhausted. As such, the 50 million could not be disbursed. Our advice, and this is what we are working on with the ministry, is to ask them to allocate from other budget lines of the ministry to accommodate these payments. We have asked them to send a request for virement, and as soon as we receive that, we'll grant the necessary approvals for the expenditure to be made. The delay had been caused by the ministry asking for an augmentation. That is, I have no budget, but go and find money wherever to pay me. We don't have. We are very mindful as a ministry about virement because there are rules for virement. And we have asked them to look at their budget line items and identify the ones that can be prioritized, that for which this scholarship payment can be prioritized, and that what they can do in order to accommodate that. As soon as we receive those requests, we are waiting and will process.
So the ball is back in the court.
Of course. You see, the point is, public finance have regulations, have rules, and those must be upheld. Just because you ask doesn't mean you'll get. What you are asking, is it consistent?
But in the case of Mohas,
yes,
they have a $50 million seat.
No, if you have the allocation.
That the ministers, sat there and said they don't have access to it.
They don't have access.
It's like seeing the figure.
But you can. You see, cash is one thing. The budget availability is another. Even if you have the cash, if you don't have the budget, you cannot spend. That's how the government finances work. Having a cash in the bank account does not mean that you can just draw a check and go and withdraw. No, you must have the approval as in the approved budget that you can spend this money. Okay. If not, now you have, scholarship. You have maybe transportation, travel, other things. You prioritize that and let the scholarship go. So we are waiting for that, and we will support them. I have tasked my team to work with Mohas on an expeditious basis to put this, and the instruction of the president will be upheld to take care of it.
So just to be clear, they had money for this. It was exhausted.
Yes.
They were asking you for augmentation.
Yes.
Which was
augmentation means taking budget from elsewhere, but not from the ministry itself. We say we don't have. You look within your budget. Because for us to do so, it means which ministry will give up their own spending authority to Mohas to fund this. If he can get it from one, let them, because that's what the law says. We had been doing this in the past, where in terms of exigency, the finance ministry will just wire directly and augment. No. Now we're trying to really farm up on that. And National Assembly has been cautioning us on virement. We are trying to preserve the environment rules. And that's what it is.
All right.
Yes.
Good morning to you all. My question is, why Trans-Gambia Bridge Company, TBC, is charging foreign vehicles to pay in CFA, not in GMD, Gambian Dalasi? This might affect the Dalasi negatively in terms of exchange rate.
Well, I happen to be... If you receive inflow of foreign currency, it's not improving the supply side.
So you're saying that's a good thing?
Yes.
And it should be
of course,
to continue.
The CFA is a foreign currency. It is pegged to the euro. So if you have foreign currency, how many Gambians are changing Dalasi to get CFA?
It's the most expensive
okay.
Of all
so
the
now,
currencies.
if you have an inflow through your own country, through your transaction, is that not a good problem? Is that not a good solution to your problem?
Maybe he's just worried that the legal tender in the Gambia is
No.
Dallas, and all transactions should be in the Dallas.
Excuse me, legal tender, this is not a violation of that. Legal tender, in fact, if you are a foreign registered vehicle, are you a domestic vehicle? You are not. You are a foreign registered business in Gambia. So you are not obliged. If you are a Gambian registered vehicle and they ask you to pay in CFA, you can quote that. But you are foreign registered and is supplying CFA to the country. No, I think that one is not a problem.
Okay.
I don't see that as an issue.
Hi, Uncle Peter. Please ask the Minister of Finance, how does he measure whether the ministry's policies are impacting the lives of ordinary Gambians? This is from Mohammed Cham in Sinchu Alaji.
Well, certainly we are one of them. We are living here, and we that's why we are introducing social programs. That's why we are increasing the school feeding. That's why we are making sure that the farmers are subsidized, because we know, Ministry of Finance staff are Gambians. I came from a rural area, from a farming community, and from the bottom of the pit, I can say proudly. So certainly we know what government policies, because...
You can see how it's impacting.
Oh, yes. Look, Even textbooks. Now students have their textbooks. These are all part of reforms. Initially, we used to give money to schools. Now we are printing textbooks and giving to students. So there's no student that is in a grade 10 to 12 in a public school that is not having textbooks. And this is capacitizing the Writers Association, capacitizing the Gambia Printing Press, printing and publishing company. So these are all things that we are aware. But anyway, we are not perfect. If you believe there are other ways we can positively impact the life of people, the budget is a consultative process. We have a citizen-centered approach of budgeting. Feedbacks can be received by the ministry on what areas we can look at so that we can take cue from that.
Good morning, Coffee Time. Uncle Peter, Honorable Minister, and our wonderful listeners. It's a pleasure to have the Honorable Minister with us today to engage Gambians on the current economic realities, the challenges facing our country, and the government's plans for addressing them. I have several questions that touch on almost every sector of the economy, but I will begin with this. How is the ministry working with educational institutions to ensure that graduates acquire the knowledge, practical skills, and competencies required by the labor market? Furthermore, what reforms are currently being implemented to attract more foreign direct investment into the Gambia, and which sectors does the government consider to have the greatest investment potential over the next 5 years? In addition, what support is available for small and medium-sized enterprises, and are there concrete plans to improve access to affordable financing for young entrepreneurs to enable them to grow their businesses and create jobs? Given the country's debt obligations, what is the government's long-term strategy for reducing public debt while maintaining sustainable economic growth? Considering the importance of agriculture to our economy, what measures are being taken to make the Gambia more self-sufficient in food production? And how does the government intend to improve access to agricultural financing, irrigation systems, and modern farming technologies? Equally important, what new policies are being introduced to create sustainable employment opportunities for young people? Finally, with many Gambians facing increasing financial hardship due to the high cost of living, what practical measures is the government implementing to reduce inflation, stabilize the Gambian dalasi, and ease the economic burden on ordinary citizens? And this is from Ansunding. I think I'll have to go back to the top.
I know it's a number of them. I don't know which one to. Let's do them sequentially.
Okay, let's go sequentially.
Yeah, so that there will be order to the answer.
How is the ministry working with educational institutions to ensure that graduates acquire the knowledge, the practical skills, and the competencies required by the labor market?
Well, I think our role is a coordinating ministry in terms of the curriculum and the fit of the graduates is for a different ministry, Mohast. And I stay within my circle of competence.
Okay.
I cannot work on that. But we make sure that we give them resources for them to do their job to achieve their goals.
What reforms are currently being implemented to attract more foreign direct investment into the Gambia, and which sectors does the government consider to have the greatest investment potential over the next 5 years?
Well, certainly that's a good question. We are trying to improve the business climate. The business climate is one of the big, because as you know, we believe in a private sector-led economy. And the number one foundation of that is confidence, the peace, the independence of the judiciary, the predictability of commercial engagements. One area of concern has been the long delay of commercial cases in courts. We have worked with the judiciary and the Ministry of Justice to create a commercial court to expedite litigations or disputes arising from commercial transactions. We believe that's an important reform that will make a huge mark and impact, particularly to the banking and the commercial sector. That's one area. Of course, the foundational is the foundational investment. That's access to energy, reliable and steady supply, and reliable and steady supply of electricity. That's why the energy roadmap is being implemented. We are working on a 150. The 50 procurement has been completed. Solar farm in Soma, 100 is afoot, and plans are there to do other things to maybe to augment that, so that the energy mix can be solar, which is cheaper than the hydrocarbon one. That way, the overall cost of electricity can come down, so that the businesses can have access to reliable and uninterrupted electricity supply at affordable prices. We also believe we have one thing that we are not selling very well as a country, that's the human capital of our population. A number of young Gambians are very enterprising, and they should really go in and test their entrepreneurship skills. We are very pleased with the number of young enterprises coming up, and that's why we are working. We have not come up with a policy yet, but policy is at a formulation stage. Even a draft is ready for a local content to ensure that for every enterprise, for every new investment, the Gambian element is onboarded so that Gambians partake in their economic activities.
On ease of doing business,
Yes.
a lot of people have written to this program, and
Yes.
we've shared their concerns with your information and media and broadcasting service colleague, Dr. Cisse, about business registration, slowing down because the Ministry of Justice has a problem with that.
Yeah, I think it's an IT issue, I'm aware, but I think it's jointly...
It's the beginning of the year.
No, I will... In fact, it's a good note to take, because I remember there was an IT... No.
They tell them the system is
In fact, the ideal should have been online registration. Capability should have been enforced by now. But we know the service provider has some issues. That was legacy of the past. But Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Justice are working on this. But I will take note of this and follow up.
Yes.
I'll follow up on that.
Business registration.
Business registration.
Yeah, somebody says they've been waiting to register their business
No.
months.
But it's good to know, and this is very healthy, because I was of the view that this was already taken care of. And I don't have that magic one, but I'll ask my colleagues to follow up and give them the necessary feedback. Business registration. I'll take note of that.